Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, Diverse Goddess. It's Hannah, and on my channel I talk about diverse topics. And in today's video, I'm going to be talking about what it means to read somebody's energy. We are also going to be talking about what it means to read energy in general. Now, I've mentioned a lot on my channel before how we all have different types of gifts and sensitivity, and how one of my gifts happens to be that I'm a feeler. Now, when I say I'm a feeler, I mean just that. I feel things. And in truth, everyone is a feeler to some degree. It's just a matter of what level and how much you're able to decipher. Because in truth, our feelings are actually our natural instincts. So if you meet somebody and you get a bad vibe, or you meet somebody and you get a good vibe, that is instincts, but it's also part of being receptive and feeling. So we all have a certain basic natural instinct. However, what can sometimes happen is that people can have a certain bias, and that bias can be mistaken as instinct. For example, let's say somebody has had a bad experience with a certain type of person in the past. Let's say it could be a certain race or gender or whatever it is. It's just a certain type of person. Then they come across the same type of person, at least on the outside in their life. They now will start to project those feelings of the past onto that new person. So they're now coming from a place of bias, and they mistake that bias as a form of instincts, when in truth it's now a form of judgment. And we often mistake that judgment as being truth. When that happens, you're not truly coming from a feeling place. Like I said, you're coming from a more biased, judgmental place. So in order to really be a feeler and read somebody's energy, you have to put your bias aside. So in order to get the accurate reading or an accurate energy reading of that person, you almost have to empty your mind. Meaning, again, yes, put your judgments and bias aside, but it's almost like you have to just be empty in your thoughts. You pretty much have to just allow yourself to feel the energy that's coming into you, and allow it to come into you, and just feel it without putting any words to it at first. So in a way, you become pretty much a witness, rather. Now, like I mentioned, we all are feelers to some level, and we all can read energy to some level. It's just a matter of how evolved you are and how limited or unlimited your mind is for how much information you can truly access. So when it comes to reading the energy of a person, of course, there are always layers. Now, that first layer is the physical layer. Now, if you're somebody who can't see or you're blind, then that's a different story. But for everyone who can see, the first layer of reading energy is always sight, or looking at a person. Now, a lot of times people will stop at that physical layer, and a lot of times when they read a person's energy just by how they physically look, they are gathering information usually from a very shallow place. Now, if that's the case, like you're just basing it off, oh, that person's race or how they physically look, if they're attractive or not attractive, and again, you're placing judgments on them, you're probably not going to get a very accurate read on that person. However, when it comes to physical appearance, you can actually get a lot of in-depth reading. Again, there are such thing as face reading, so like how somebody's nose looks, how somebody's eyes are, the eyebrows, the lips, the face structure, like you could read somebody's hand. These are all physical ways of reading the energy of somebody, because again, energy is a language, and if you know that language, then you know how to read it. When most people read somebody at a physical layer, they're not reading them on a face level. They're not reading them from like a hand, like the structure or how they're built and all of that stuff. Because all of that stuff, again, is information, and it also tells you things. Just like if you were to look at plants, the way they grow in the forest, whether they grew in sunlight or in the shade, they're all going to look different, and they're all going to grow and develop depending on not only their environment, but what's happened to them, everything. It's all there. All the information is always there. It just depends on what you are looking at and what you are able to understand, really. Like I said, it just depends on how evolved you are. And of course, the more evolved you are and the less limited in the mind you are, the more information you're able to decipher. And as I mentioned, energy is a language just like anything else, and it can be taught, it can be learned, and you can absolutely grow in that language and evolve in that language. And as I mentioned too, that everybody feels on a very basic instinctual level. It's just a lot of times people feel things from other people or in life, and they don't always know how to read it, or like they don't have a vocabulary in which to express what it is that they're feeling. And when that happens, that's usually when judgments gets in the way, and that's usually when their own bias gets in the way, because we're oftentimes scared of the unknown, so we project what we already know onto somebody or a situation. But because people don't have the language to decipher sometimes what they're feeling, again, they're not going to get a very accurate reading. And the best way that I can sort of explain the energy being a language would be as if I went to Japan. And let's say I don't speak Japan, and I certainly don't read Japanese writing, but I go there and I can physically see the signs and writing and it's all written in Japanese, but I can physically see that. So I know it's saying something, but again, I don't know the language, and so I don't know the vocabulary, and I don't even know what it's saying. Or if somebody speaks to me in Japanese, I don't know what they're saying, even though I can literally hear it. The same principle applies when you're reading energy. If you don't know what you're feeling, you don't know what it's saying. Now, I mention a lot on my channel how sensitivity is a gift, and I actually did a video on this whole topic. And I also vouch a lot how feelings are important. And feelings are important. For one, we have them for a reason, and we have them because it's our connection to source. And when you disconnect from your feelings, you disconnect from source. You disconnect from yourself, essentially. And when you disconnect from yourself, that's when you start to feel lost. So someone like myself who is a feeler, and other people who are very much like myself, the reason why we can know things about somebody or read somebody's energy is because we know the language, so we know what it's saying. And being able to feel is just one way to be able to read energy. And I already touched a little bit on this about the face reading or hand reading. But one of the reasons why I do my other videos that are titled, what does this say about you? Like, what does color say about you? Or what does your handwriting say about you? Because those are also ways of reading energy from somebody. And in every situation, or even with every single person, energy always leaks. It's just a matter if you're aware of it, if you can see it, if you can feel it, if you can decipher it. All the information is always there, but it just matters on what you are looking at. For example, somebody could be smiling, but their eyes say they're very sad. So again, it depends on what you're looking at, but the information is all there. Or it can be the other way, where somebody doesn't smile all the time, but you can feel from them that they're actually very happy and content, because energy does not lie. And in truth, being able to read energy is just being able to also read beyond the mask that people wear. Now, the mask can be on an individual level, or it can be on a group level. For example, you can see a family that seems like a picture-perfect family. However, every now and then you might see something or hear something or feel something that just seems a little off. Like maybe the child is always scared when it comes around one of the parents, and you're like, that's a little off. Or there's just, again, certain signs that tell a different story. There are certain things that you pick up on that kind of poke holes on that picture-perfect family. Because again, energy does not lie, and energy always has a way of leaking. And energy leaks the most when there is indeed a facade. Because in truth, everything we do, say, act, our choices that we make, everything tells a story. Unfortunately, we live in a world where most people buy the facade or the label or the mask as is, and they don't really penetrate past that. And so they mistake that as being truth. Now, another way one can read energy is through observation. Now, we all might think we're observant, but oftentimes we may not be as observant as we think we are. But the more observant you become, you start to notice patterns. Just like in nature, there are patterns that happen in nature, and those certain patterns tell you that certain things are going to happen. For example, for sailors, when they see a red sky at night, that means sailor's delight, or a red sky in the morning, that means sailor takes warning. Again, those are patterns that they've learned through observation that tell them a certain outcome, or they're able to read what that is telling them. And the same thing goes for human beings. There are certain patterns that you can observe in people, and you know what it's saying and what it means. But at the end of the day, everything comes down to pure energy, because everything is pure energy. And again, if you know what you are feeling in terms of that energy, you know how to read it. Even animals read energy. Animals read energy first. That's how they know what you are saying, because you could speak Spanish, French, English to them. It doesn't matter. They know what you are saying because it's not necessarily the language that they are picking up on. They are picking up on and reading your energy to know what you are saying. Even animals in the wild have to read energy in order to stay safe or even to hunt. Like, for example, foxes, when they hunt, they know where a predator is because they can feel the energetic current of the earth when their paw is on the ground, because it starts to vibrate under them. So they're feeling that energy, and they can say, oh, look, a prey is over there. They're feeling the energy to give them the information that they need. But the very best way to be able to read energy, like I mentioned in the beginning, is just allow yourself to feel the energy and allow it to enter your body, for that the body itself is its own consciousness. So allow your body to just feel the energies without putting judgments on them, without putting your own thoughts onto them, and without needing to know the answer or know everything right away, because sooner or later the answers will come, and sooner or later the whole picture is eventually going to come together. And again, energy is a language, so you get one word at a time, and eventually you get a sentence, eventually you might get a whole paragraph, and after a while you will know what it's saying. So on that note, I'm actually going to end today's video, and if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. And you can also find me on TikTok and Instagram at Hannah Rokes. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and turn on notifications. And I will see you in the next video. Bye!